So, welcome everyone to the Ghosts of Data Warehousing, Past, Present, and Future. We have 5 great panelists here with us. Maybe we do a very brief round of introductions. Maybe Juha, you can start and introduce yourself in like 2-3 sentences.
Sure, thank you, Christian. Juha Korpela, hi, CPO at Ellie Technologies, which is a data modeling tool. What do I say besides that? Also, I very much like data modeling. That's the thing.
Maybe you like it so much that you even built a tool for it.
Yeah, exactly. I like it enough to build a tool for it. Been doing data warehousing, data modeling, and whatnot for 12 years, something like that. Also, I play the bass.
Thank you. And today you're not playing the bass, but you're a very important player nevertheless.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's continue with Jody.
Hi, I'm Jody Johans. I am a senior data architect with Inca Digital. It is the franchise portion of IKEA. I'm new with the company, so 6 months. So there will be questions that I'll be able to touch on, but not be able to finish. But I've been doing this for a long time, and sometimes touching on data warehousing and sometimes not. Right now, I'm focusing on master and reference data.
Very important also. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Nikolai.
Hi, my name is Nikolai Golov. All my professional career, I'm doing a pretty simple operation. I'm gathering all data in one big heap, and I'm sitting above it and trying to make something useful from it. So 20 years in data engineering. Currently, I'm head of data engineering at ManyChat. We have a lot of data about everything, and also I'm studying data modeling and applying data modeling for different modern fancy technologies, like for example, it's my current area of interest.
Thank you. I think this was the best, most concise description of data warehousing I've ever heard. So next one, Cristina.
Hey everyone, I'm Cristina Sabatianov, and together with Jody, we are actually working on the same thing. So I'm also a senior data architect. I have 15 years of experience in data warehousing. So basically a lot of ghosting. I totally understand what ghost from the past means when it comes to data warehousing. Yeah, my main focus is indeed data modeling. I am interested and curious in all kinds of data modeling technologies at all levels of data modeling that can exist and will exist. Hopefully, more will come. So, yeah.
Thank you. And then Lars is also with us, right? Even with camera switched off.
I am. Yeah, sorry. I'm so ghostly today that you can't even see me. But my voice is here anyway. So my name is Lars Rönnbäck. I'm from Sweden. I live in Stockholm. That wasn't a comment from me, I suppose. Anyway, I've been working also with data warehousing for a long time. I started back in 2002. I'm one of the persons behind a modeling technique called anchor modeling, and I've been doing part-time research in information modeling at Stockholm University for the last 10 years. And apart from that, I work as a consultant in a small consultant company, mostly with anchor modeling.
Thanks a lot. So these are the panelists. Thomas, can you please switch off your camera that we only see the panelists? Thank you. So we have quite a few experienced data people with us today. And like I already hinted at in the introduction, I want to look at some trends in the data warehousing, data modeling world and see where they come from, where we are with them now, if they are to stay and if they should stay. And like, it's the year 2022, so I guess the data buzzword of the year still was data mesh, right? So I have to start with the question on data mesh. Maybe Jody, you're already smiling. Can you give me your take on data mesh and if it will stay, if it should stay?
I think that it'll evolve. Will it stay in the same way? I think that there's a lot of it depends on the company, how well people can manage it. I see a lot of different things that especially from a master and reference data, where are our duplications? People using it, where's the metadata? Can we get the metadata to go with it? How are things being managed? How is the governance? Can it be adopted and does it get out of control? So I think that it really is a culture of an organization on how well it can be adopted. But I think that there are certain things that will come about that will help evolve it into a better way. But having a federated and distributed data platform for availability to your organization, I think that's a good thing.
It absolutely is, and I think you're right that we will have something like it in the future, but not quite the data mesh by the book. Juha, what's your take? You've also published on data mesh, right?
Yeah, I fully agree, Jody. So yep, we're probably not going to see like picture perfect data meshes being implemented for many years in every organization, simply for the fact that honestly what it is feasible only for very limited number of organizations, I would say. But that being said, I absolutely adore some of the principles there. I think that some of the ideas that Mesh had kind of refreshed and brought back up into the discussion, like data products, like actual product thinking that we should have been doing all the time, decentralization and kind of federation where the data work is coming closer to the business instead of a kind of centralized IT-led data organization, which we all know is always the bottleneck and doesn't know what the data is actually about. I think those are absolutely brilliant things. They are not unique to data mesh, but I really want to kind of applaud the whole thing for bringing this up again, that it's a reminder for all of us that this is what we really need to focus on.
Yeah, good point. So some of the aspects aren't that new, but it's important to be reminded about them and put them to good use.
Yeah, and focus on those.
Yeah, true. Nikolai, what do you think?
I have a feeling that data mesh has something promising in the idea. That is why everybody likes it. But with the current level of technology, it turns out that for most companies, it's a little bit dangerous idea to start doing it. That is why not all attempts are successful. So I have the feeling that maybe in the nearest future, maybe we will get some technology which can be combined, which can strengthen the idea, and using which the data mesh idea can thrive. So something like universally shared cloud database without any limitations, which will like restart this idea on absolutely new technological level. In this case, I suppose it will become something really beautiful.
Yeah, my hunch is also that like the organizational decentralization part can work. The technical decentralization part probably won't work that well. If like each team picks their own database platform, their own SQL dialect, or completely different approach, probably hard to make it work. Cristina, what's your take?
I think that data mesh is, as it is defined by its author, a paradigm, but currently it's at a very high level. So basically everyone can implement it as they want. So some of them are putting a lot of effort in the technical area, others are putting a lot of effort in maybe business area. But I think it's a little bit of each. So then I think until some real practical examples and maybe failures are being brought into the concept itself, and try to provide when it will be able to provide a bit of more of a practical guidance, let's say, more than just I don't know, a target state, a high-level target state, then it would be even more useful. So yeah, indeed, the data warehouse or that monolithic implementation is also considered a bottleneck, but we saw that also putting technology, like really good technology, didn't solve the problem. So then it's more than just that. It's maybe also context of your data and ownership and so on. So everything that is put there, but when is the moment to implement and to put that in focus, then it's something that is still missing.
Yeah, thank you. I think what could help us here is really like you said already, to have some kind of like data mesh fuck up night where you get the stories from people's failures at attempting data mesh, so you know what it doesn't work, because usually like in all kinds of data endeavors, there is a small number of ways that work and a much larger number of ways that don't work. So helping to narrow down it down to the ways that actually work, it could really be helpful. Lars, what's your take on data mesh? I guess you're not completely an impartial authority.
Well, maybe not, but I think that we will be seeing a lot of data mesh implementations. I mean, we're already seeing companies that claim that they have something along the lines of a data mesh, even if I think, as you also said, they are quite far from having implemented it by the book, and I think that's still many years away. If it's here to stay, I'm not so sure. I think in 20 years from now, will people say that we still have the same data mesh we had 20 years ago, and any technology upgrades that we stumbled upon along the way were quite trivial to manage? I'm not so sure we will see that, because back when I started, actually, one of the first things we did was to implement something called a federated data warehouse, which was very much along the lines of what a data mesh actually is, and that was sort of hyped by Teradata at the time, and well, a lot of people tried doing that, and that didn't stick. And I think it will be the same thing with data mesh. I don't really, there are some aspects of it that I really like the others said, the socio-technical aspect, that you actually let the data mesh sort of affect the organizational structure, so you actually structure yourself around it people-wise as well, and produce this data product. That thinking is very good, I think. So I hope that will survive, even if I think we're going in a different direction after this wave of decentralization. There will probably be a new wave of centralization instead.
Thank you. I think one of the early success stories of data mesh is Roche Diagnostics, where they will speak about it at the Data Vault UK meetup this week. And if you look at it from what I've seen, it's pretty much decentralized or federated data warehousing. So it's very similar to what you have done 20 years ago, Lars. So I think we all agree there are good parts in data mesh. Some of those will survive, some not. But yeah, data mesh by the book, we probably won't have data mesh by the book 20 years ago, or maybe data mesh by the 3rd edition of the book, because I have the 3rd edition of the Kimball toolkit book back in my office, and it's very different from the 1st edition. It's kind of funny that still we see so often like the Kimball strawman, and the strawman, they're basically built out of the 1st edition of the book back from 1996. And if you look at the 3rd edition from 2013, I think it's very different. It's because like these what Kimball is talking about in his later writings, in his later edition, like the stovepipe data marts, this is where Kimball started back in the 1990s. But like 2010's Kimball or today's Kimball is much different from the 1st edition 1996 Kimball. I guess it will be similar with data mesh as well.
Yeah,
so we have
Sorry, just wanted to add on that I think that's exactly how it should go, right? That there's an idea, there's kind of a new-ish setup that someone proposes, and then evolves. As Jody said, it evolves in time, and hopefully there will be a second and third and fourth edition of the book in which the learnings and hopefully also learnings from the failures are taken into account.
Yeah, true. So speaking about evolution, like one data buzzword that has been with us for a long time and probably will stay with us is data vault. And it seems for me that data vault is still evolving, but at different speeds. So some people very much want to do data vault by the book, or more specifically data vault by the 2.0 book. Other people are more pragmatic or looking at other ensemble modeling techniques like Anchor or Focal for inspiration. So what's your feeling about the state of data vault? Is data vault still growing? Is it declining? Maybe again an impartial opinion from Lars.
Impartial. All right. Well, I just actually recently did a presentation on ensemble modeling techniques where I covered not all, but 3 of them anyway: Anchor, Data Vault, and Focal. And I did some digging just to see, trying to find out sort of the relative sizes of each of them. And Data Vault is like by a far margin the largest one of them. Even so, if you look at it, they have actually all gained a little bit in popularity. If you look at the last, just over the last year, I don't really know what's been driving that, but if you look at website statistics and Google search trends and stuff like that, they are all trending upwards a little bit. I do think that data vault will be around for quite some time still, and also Anchor and Focal might gain some more interest as well. In the long run, I do think that all of these will be replaced by some different modeling technique. Me personally, I believe that the limitations of just being able to classify things in a single way, as we do in relational modeling, is sort of limiting. And if we can break that barrier and find different ways to model data, yeah, I think the future has got new modeling techniques coming that will make these obsolete in 20 years, most likely.
Interesting glimpse to the future. Jody, you have been nodding a lot. Maybe you want to continue.
Sorry. I agree. I agree that there's a lot of we don't know what's going to be there. You know, there are reasons that I think the automation with Vault. I follow that, and I think that that's really amazing. The way that they can Data Vault Builder and stuff, and the way that how the automation seems to be much more efficient using Vault. But it's not an end-all be-all. There's still more that you have to put on top of it. I think that having different perspectives in different ways, that's why I was agreeing with Lars, you know, having different ways of looking at data, different contexts is important. And how can we incorporate that into modeling and our just regular day-to-day life? I think that a lot of people miss that, especially I think with people building data products in mesh and stuff. They look at it from their perspective, and people want to say that, you know, that's the only version of the truth. But we all know that if you go down the hall to somebody else's office, they may look at it totally differently. So yeah, that's what I was agreeing with.
Thank you. I think, me personally, that the metadata-driven data warehouse automation is the real game changer, and it doesn't matter that much if you use it for Data Vault or Anchor or Dimensional or whatever. Nikolai, I guess you think along similar lines.
Yes. So speaking about Data Vault, first of all, I think that it is a great stuff, that it is gaining popularity, as Lars has mentioned. It simplifies a lot, selling the idea that now a lot of people, they are not afraid of complex modeling. If you say it's some version of Data Vault, it sounds reasonable, it sounds reliable now. It's like one point of view. But another point of view is that today Data Vault, it's really not a single methodology. It like a family of methodologies. It evolves. We have Data Vault, we have Data Vault 2.0. We have, for example, Data Vault of Click Compose, which don't have links. Why shall you use links? It's unnecessary ones. And I suppose because of it, at some moment we will understand that there is no such thing as a Data Vault. It will completely like dissipate in different methodologies, and we will need to find some other word which better describes some universal methodology which wide audience.
Okay, thank you. So maybe you can go next.
Yeah, thanks. I've seen a lot of companies starting to do data vault modeling. I've seen a lot of companies succeed with it. I've seen a lot of companies drop data vault because they felt that it doesn't work. And I agree that the automation thing is like super big and absolutely necessary. I would say it has to be there. You can't do data vault without some level of automation, practically. But I think the thing is that when data vaults fail, and occasionally they do, it is because the business modeling side is not done properly. So if you just jump into the metadata driven automation, and if you look at many consultancies, I mean, I know a lot of consultancies that do this right, but there are also a lot of consultancies that will jump into the metadata driven automation by grabbing the data from the source systems and immediately generating their hubs and links and satellites from that. And that's not how data vault is done, or how it's supposed to be done. However, it's far too easy to fall into that trap. And I was just last week in this event in the Data Vault North America user group with John Giles and VaultSpeed's Jonas de Coista, and the whole point of that was data vault done right. And the done right part was that we start with the business, we figure out what the business entities are, we practically create the data vault structure without looking at source systems at all, and then the automation steps in. And that was the whole point there. And I think that's kind of a big thing. If you don't do it that way, I think there's a massive risk for your data vault initiative. And I think that's kind of, perhaps not talked about enough.
Thank you. I think it's still overlooked because I guess many people don't read the books or follow discussions among like people like us, but they're just looking at what the vendors say. And of course, for the vendor, it's very easy to sell a source vault, where basically you throw your source table into it, and then it just extracts the primary keys, the foreign keys, and creates hubs, links, and satellites out of them. And this is, of course, not how it's done. I think the whole understanding that most people have of data modeling and data warehousing is kind of warped, because as you've already said, like the most important thing is understanding your own business, and like vendor marketing hasn't helped with that. And also, like, to be honest, I don't want to insult anyone in the audience, but many people come from like a computer science background and they are techies, and like building a data warehouse is not primarily a technical endeavor. It's a social endeavor, even a political endeavor in many organizations, and you have to have the right toolbox for that, and it's not just technical tools. I think I'm leading the discussion in another direction. So before we go there, Cristina, any comments on Data Vault?
I fully agree with what you said previously, Christian, that in the end, the methodology doesn't matter whether it's Vault and Core or whatever. In the end, you are going to model the same thing. You have a business process as a company. So then also, as Juha was mentioning, yeah, if you don't know what you are modeling, you can use, I don't know, the latest technique that is available, because you will fail in the end. But on top of this, I would also, what I saw is that also we don't know exactly the purpose of our layer that we want to model. Because if I'm going to adopt a data vault with one attribute per satellite, but in the end I want to produce so very fast analytics, I want to use this data for analytics, I will definitely fail. So then I need another layer on top of it, and so on. So it depends also very much on the release cycle that you have. What is your pace of implementation? So some of the modeling techniques are very agile oriented, or others are more for the very classic waterfall and so on. So I think those are also aspects that could be taken into consideration when you decide of a certain methodology, data modeling methodology.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. I think so. We're all thinking along similar lines to pick up the direction we're already going on anyway. The thing is, as data warehousing people, we are not quite the business. We are not quite IT, and it's still something where the people have to realize. You're not just techies. You're not just building this wonderful technical machine. You have to understand your business inside and out, and then abstract your business. So your data model has to be an abstraction of your business, but you have to know about the business. You have to talk to the people that actually make money for your organizations. The people, without these people, you wouldn't have a job. You wouldn't have money to blow on data warehouse. And so you really have to get into the business side, basically be part of the business side, but not quite. You have to look at the business from this data warehousing angle. So maybe you can comment on this. So how do you get closer to the business? How do you become the business basically as data warehousing person?
No, yeah, it's an interesting problem, and I think it's also one of the reasons why there seems to be occasionally this kind of rift between data modelers and data engineers who are kind of focusing on different things here. But I don't think there needs to be like any discord between these groups. The idea is that perhaps us as data warehousing people, we are the ones that need to be able to do the talk with the business part. I think the main kind of rule of thumb that I personally at least use there is that I always consider the scope, what I am actually modeling. And Christian, your Substack is called Model Your Reality, right? And I think that's the key. So whenever I'm modeling something, I'm actually modeling my kind of target area is the slice of reality in which the business exists. I'm never modeling a system. I'm never modeling a data warehouse even. I'm never modeling a report or whatever, data science, whatever. I'm modeling the actual reality behind the whatever project. And that is the only way that you can kind of get into the mindset of actually modeling the business itself. And then from that, you can derive all sorts of technical things. But your first thought needs to be, okay, what's the reality? What's, what exists in the world that the business is interested in? And that's why I think the worst question you can ask is, what data do you need? Because the question should be, what do you need data about? And then you go from there. That's kind of the main thing that helps me at least to get the mindset right.
Right question. Thank you. So Cristina, what do you think about like getting closer to the business, becoming part of the business? So what's your take here?
Yeah, that's why I prefer to really use this terminology, multiple levels of data modeling, because I have the level of conceptual, where definitely I have to be involved with business. Otherwise, that would be the target audience for that type of data model. Then I have the logical or the functional data modeling, where I'm starting to translate that business towards the data storage, the database, or whatever we want to call it, any data storage. So in there, I already start to oversee the type of the data storage that I will use. And then we move to the physical data model, where it's actually the design of the database or the data storage itself. Nowadays, I really refrain of using database, because everyone will say, oh, you are so classic, it's an Oracle, it's so old. And no, okay, data storage or whatever type of, even for a file base, for a document base data storage, if you don't know what you are storing there, you will never be able to extract the data and actually extract the information that you are after. So I think that the business involvement is mandatory at the conceptual level, it's so and so at the logical level, and then at the system level you are already done with them because they don't care about partitions, indexes, or whatever other things that you are discussing with the actual implementation team.
Thank you. This is, I think, the first time I've really had someone who made the 3 layers of data modeling make sense, because usually in most cases you just see these 3 layers and I think they're almost the same. So this I think was the first really concise definition of the usage of the 3 different layers. So thank you for that. Next one, Lars, how do you get closer to the business? How do you become the business?
Well, I usually try to find a stakeholder who has a specific type of problem, because I like to start with some problem that we can try to solve using a minimal effort, where we actually take everything from source to target to actually having something that they can use. Because I believe if you can quickly show that there's something of value within the data that you have, then you have sort of paved the path for making it much easier to take the decisions on what to do next. And you get, when they see that they can actually use the data, they get much more interested in helping out. I think that's one of the barriers that you have to break first, actually, to get them interested and to get them to actively contribute. Because like you have said also, you need to model what the business is doing, not what some vendor is thinking that data should look like in their source systems. Two very different ways of looking at things.
Makes sense. Thank you. Maybe Nikolai can go next.
Okay, so I suppose the most important part here is remember that all this stuff, our data modeling, our databases, data engineering, like data delivery, conceptual modeling, it's just a part of analytical pipeline. And the final target of analytical pipeline, it shall provide insights for a company. And it's extremely important building all this pipeline to understand and to estimate whether we're really able to deliver those insights. Because I suppose all of you feel this year is pretty dangerous. No more cheap money, a lot of questions. And yes, we build a perfect pipeline. We have a huge amounts of data. We have a huge amounts of analysts. Analysts are working. But if there are no insights from them for business can find another insight. Maybe we shall optimize our business, laying off those analysts. It is extremely possible if you are thinking about technical parts, not thinking about will you be able to find at least some insights at the end. And in this case, you shall also think about work as a little bit as an analyst, as Lars have mentioned. Work speaking with business, trying to provide those practical insight, as a proof of concept.
So you not only have to talk to the business, you also have to make the business case for the data warehouse. Because if you don't produce any insights, then yeah, what does it help you that you put all this data in this data warehouse? True. Jody, any comments from your side on becoming one with the business?
A lot. I have a whole different aspect than most people on this, or at least on this panel. One thing, you just have to learn their language, ask them questions, get those examples, find out, do you really understand what they need? Do you really understand what they're doing? Do you really understand what, and can you communicate that? And can you verify it when you're building things? So, to me, what's the best way to get close to the business? Ask them questions and shut up and listen, and then come back and say, did I get this right? And how can I help you? Because in the end, data models are just communication tools to get to what you need to do. And if you're not listening, then all you're going to do is be putting crap down that pipeline. You know, it's like, you know, garbage in, garbage out. But it's not just a matter of the data. It's the information that you are ascertaining from those business people. So if you don't understand them, if you can't verify them, verify what they're talking about and what they really want to know and where the business value is, then it's a waste of time.
Absolutely. And I think this is pretty close to my next point. It's about data as frozen communication. And if like your communication between humans doesn't quite work, if like the humans don't speak the same language, if the humans don't understand each other, then the data has to be crap because you're freezing something in time that doesn't make sense. So this is really, I want to stress this whole like frozen communication message to the future angle. So how do you make sure that something that you put in the data warehouse today, that it's still relevant to people when they look at the data warehouse and they look at data from 5 years ago? How do you make sure that what you're putting in the data warehouse now in terms of data structures, in terms of data, that it's still understandable, still relevant when people look at it like 5 or 10 years from now? Lars, any idea on that? So how do you make sure that your frozen communication can be thought and made useful in 5 or 10 years?
Well, I think first, and like Jody said, if you speak the business language and you've actually modeled it accordingly, then you have good chances that what you're looking for historically is there in using the same terminology. But of course, the way you work in a business and the way you talk in the business also changes. So sometimes you have to migrate data in your model because you've changed the terminology or changed the concepts or whatever over time. But I normally, when I look at data, I mean, many of the customers I have are in the financial industry, and even data that are already 20 years ago is still very relevant today from an analytical perspective. So I think if you build a good solution already from the start and you have historical data to populate it with, already 20-year-old data is relevant.
Thank you. Jody, what's your take?
I can honestly say I don't know. I mean, there are ways that you can, I guess, monitor the usage, keeping in touch with the business. Are you getting the insights that you need? I don't think that our jobs are just, we're done. You know, it's like, okay, we talked to the business, we built a model, we built the pipeline, we built the data warehouse. See you later, you're on your own. You know, that's not the way that it works. I mean, it's a business. You're supporting the business and you have to keep engaged with them. There has to be open communications. Hey, how's it working for you? Is there anything that's not working for you? You know, pay attention to your service requests and stuff like that. It's a relationship. You know, we are a support organization. You know, we do. You know, that's what our business is. IT does not make money just because of IT. IT supports the people who are making the money. We're a cost center. So, you know, we have to keep engaging. We have to offer, you know, hey, you know, have you thought about this? Let me take a look at this with you. Maybe we can mix some stuff up and give you some even additional insights. But it's not the tail wagging the dog. It's not IT telling them what they need. It's engaging with them, but also offering them solutions on how it can help them.
Makes sense. Thank you. You're nodding a lot, so you're next.
Yeah, totally agree with what Jody said. Just suddenly remembered a thing I heard about a few weeks ago from my consultant friend who said that at their client, IT is quite content with the data warehousing solution because it has all the data the business needs. Of course, the business was extremely unhappy because they had nothing that they cared about. But I think regarding kind of keeping data valuable over time and so on. First of all, it is about being kind of basing your whole data models and pipelines and everything on the business concept, so that you know that regardless of possible system changes or whatnot, you still know that this is a customer and this is an invoice. But that's only like half of the story. The other half is that the business changes. So the whole business model might change. That's, you know, that might happen. And that's exactly what Jody said. So we can't just, you know, say, okay, well, the data warehouse is done, now we go away. But this actually has to be kind of a continuous process where we learn about the new ways of doing business. Maybe there's a new type of a customer. We start selling services in addition to products and stuff like that. And we constantly have to keep up to date to the actual business and keep updating our, you know, data warehouses or solutions, or, you know, it doesn't even have to be a data warehouse. It can be just simply a report or something. It has to constantly stay up to date to the structures of the real business. And because businesses change even faster and faster all the time, I think it means that, you know, we basically have to be all the time tearing apart the old things and figuring out the new things. And that is only done by understanding what the business actually is doing right now and what they want to be doing next. So we really have to be very close to them all times.
Makes sense. I think, Nikolai, you have already experienced like supporting a changing business model with data, right?
Yes, it's my life. So in your original question, I see like few questions. So first of all, which part of data we shall store? In my understanding, we shall store all. How we shall store it so it will survive 5 years of changes. As it was mentioned before, in my understanding, the most unchangeable, the least changeable part of everything around us, it's business terms. So if we store data in business terms, it gives us some guarantees. It is significantly more reliable than rely on technical objects like tables and databases, like SAP as in chat, as it is discussed in chat. So business terms, they are more stable, but of course even them evolve. So it is fine if you can make those iterations made by Juha to update your terms, update your models. And to do it, I suppose it is best to try to, then you, for some reason, have to apply those data for something useful. It gives you necessary push to update, because basically, I suppose most of people don't update complex systems if it is right. They do it if it is required for them.
Thank you. Cristina, you're the last one on this round.
Yeah, so when it comes to structured data, I don't think there is much I can add besides what all of you said, because indeed, powerful metadata connected to your columns in whatever we call it, data storage or data warehousing, will solve your problems, because the machine will always know what is storing. It will be connected to a business scenarios. I'm just thinking now that there are a lot of, I mean, the future sounds like unstructured data also. So there is more and more attention that is paid to text that cannot be not even interpreted by the machine. So I wonder, yeah, I'm answering with a question, because I don't know actually how much will this unstructured data start to weight. Because we solve those things, the relational modeling and everything is clear, everything is structured there. But then what if the how to say, the trend is to be more and more involved into these very complex algorithms that are determining the state of a customer. I want to, I don't know, today I feel blue, tomorrow I feel purple, so what to buy and so on. So all those kinds of like really out of this world algorithms which will deal with unstructured data. So what if we would need something there, but yeah, nobody actually knows how this can be tackled in any technique, data modeling technique and so on until now, or at least I'm not aware of something like that.
I'm pretty sure transitional modeling can handle anything, but still, this is a whole other discussion. So now we're already talking a bit about like sending a message to the future-proofing your data warehouse. But this is not only about the data warehouse itself; it's also about the people that have to maintain and extend the data warehouse. So the probably biggest elephant in the room here is what happens when all of us are gone. Like what happens in 20, 30 years. Like, will there still be people who even know what data modeling is, what data warehousing is, how it works? So what do we do about this? How can we make sure that we pass on the knowledge from like the founding generation and also our own knowledge to the next generation of data people? You have any ideas about that?
It's not going away. I mean, data modeling is coming back. And besides, I'm young. I do data modeling. It's not a problem. Okay, I'm not that young
so
anymore.
we can close the round, all problems solved.
no, but the point is good. The point is good. I think there is, and I know you've been writing about this a lot, Christian. There is this kind of generational gap, and I suppose which is kind of natural human behavior that we always tell the previous generations that they were completely wrong about everything, and we are reinventing everything because we know better, which is natural, happens in all parts of life. But I think data modeling is not going anywhere. Data warehousing is not going anywhere. The ways that we do those things might be changing, but I don't think the Inmon criteria are like going to be forgotten. I mean, I can't remember them off the top of my head, but I know the idea well enough. And I think the only kind of practical thing that I don't know if it happens, I would like to see it happen, would be to somehow ensure that as we are training now tremendous amounts of data engineers or whatnot, that we would also add some of this basic stuff in there, and it would not only be about, you know, DBT and setting up your DAGs and airflows and whatnot. And I don't think that, at least the people that I know that are starting this career, I don't think they are hearing this at the right stage. So some sort of, you know, emphasis on education and onboarding might need a little bit more attention.
Definitely, yes. So the my dream data modeling book would be like mostly psychology, sociology, politology, actually, and then after, I don't know, 300 pages of that, then we go to the foundational knowledge about data modeling. Like the implementation part would basically be like by something like Ellie or Data Vault Builder or whatever, because people are so focused on the technical implementation, and this is really the smallest part, the solved part, and they have to learn about like how organizations work, what are the foundational approaches to data stuff like that. So, Cristina, what do you think? How do we pass on our data warehousing knowledge to the next generation?
It depends also on the, let's say, on the trends. So when I started more than 15 years ago, it was a lot of focus on the business analysis. So we, at least in the projects that I worked, mainly backend projects, there was a lot of business knowledge, a lot, like really a lot of business knowledge, which was not properly translated into the technical implementation. Or if it was, then we would have those technical, really technical breaches that we had all on premise and so on. So we couldn't do that. Oh, it's too big, I can't handle it. Then we shifted and we had this boom of technology, and now we can do anything. We started Hadoop. We have all kinds, you can do Terra, Peta, whatever, you name it. But somehow, I think everyone migrated towards this, and now the business knowledge is a bit missing. And I consider myself as being in the middle, but being in the middle means that I have to have both sides. So I need to translate one language to another. And I think if there will be a balance to understand that we need both sides, they are both very important, especially in a digitalized, let's say, environment. But in the end, money are just coming from very selling, buying things. Not that many things changes from a business process perspective. So, but we still need to understand that. So I don't know how the job titles will evolve in the future. But yeah, I think we just have to find our way. We meaning as a data modelers, data architects, and so on.
Thank you, Jody. What's your take?
I think that natural language and being able to identify in natural language, you can identify your primary keys, you can identify your relationships, you can identify all of the data modeling, being able to capture that in a natural language that can be verifiable with the business, and then generating from that instead of remodeling. Because in this day and age, you don't know if it's going to be a database, or if it's going to be a message, or if it's going to be, so you may need JSON, you may need Python scripts, you may need an ERD, you may need a semantic web implementation, all of the same data. So do you really want to spend your time keeping those in sync, or understanding the business in natural language and then using tools that can generate those things for you consistently? To me, that's where I would like to see the next generation go, because then you can concentrate on the business and still be able to implement things faster, across the ecosystem of your data. So if everybody's working with it, so yeah.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. You need something like a more powerful conceptual modeling. This can be fact-based modeling. This can be a stronger focus on business rules. This can be transitional modeling. But somehow you need to strengthen this conceptual aspect so that the rest is basically a generation exercise. Very true. Thank you, Nikolai. What's your take?
At first, a small cool story. Data engineer from my team, Anton, Christian, you know him. He just applied ChatGPT for one big table. He asked it, please give me hubs, links, and attributes. And it succeeded. No errors, perfect results. It did a modeling based on natural language. It's perfect illustration that we are moving into this direction. A lot of parts of data modeling from natural language, it's already automatable. It's a first part. And the second part, I'm a university teacher here in Barcelona, and I'm constantly thinking how to make my students, make them to be interested in data modeling and in data warehouse and all the stuff. It's a small part of my course. Now I understand that a realistic way of making them interested is start from insights. So, and illustrate how data modeling can help the insights, not in the opposite direction, not start from data modeling and as a result, finally you will get the insights. No, nobody will wait. Will have with results and understand how data modeling immediately benefits here.
Very good, and I think this is really important that some of us go into the universities and teach the young about proper data work. Tanja Ubert can't do everything on her own, right? So Lars Rönnbäck, the last word is for you. How do we make our future successors aware of like data knowledge and what they need to know to succeed with data?
Yeah, I think data modeling is not going away, because if you look at it sort of in a bigger sense, we need to model data if we are going to freeze information. I mean, I could write a novel containing 200 million customer transactions, but it wouldn't be a very fun book to read. So we need to model data in order to actually store it efficiently for the future. And I mean that, so all types of communication that we have is sort of data modeled in some sense. It has just more or less structure. So data modeling will definitely survive. I'm not equally positive maybe as the others when it comes to data warehousing, because I think if data warehousing is going to succeed as a concept, we need more success stories. There are too many failures out there, and at least businesses I've been talking to lately are getting a little bit weary about data warehousing and thinking, are there alternatives, options that we can do instead of data warehousing? It's sort of as if data warehousing has gotten a little bit of a bad name. So I think modeling will survive, will always be there. We will have the need to model data in order for us to store it efficiently and in a way that we can understand it and analyze it later. But as you may be aware of course, Christian, I think that centralization is a good thing, and data warehousing is sort of, in theory anyway, centralizing structured and modeled data. So that, I think, will still remain in the future. And I've seen many data warehouses where when they are successful, they become operational in the sense that in the business there are suddenly things that you have in the data warehouse that you don't have in any other systems, because it's only in the data warehouse that you've been able to compute these things. And which is probably why we're seeing this boom of reverse ETL. Nothing new under the sun there, but a new term for it. So when the data warehouse becomes operational, you start pushing data back into all the different systems from the data warehouse, computed data, new information that you cannot find anywhere else. So the data warehouse sort of has become a much more central part of the organization as a whole. And that's where I think we're going in the future, where a structured, unified data model will sit at the heart of the organization, but we will probably not call it a data warehouse. And it will probably be much more important than the data warehouses are today.
Thank you. Some great points here, and I think if you look at data warehousing, and Lars, you're right, there are probably more fails than success stories here. I think most of the case it's because people are not aware that they should be standing on the shoulders of giants. So we have our giants. Most problems have been solved like 20, 30, even 50 years ago. Think back to Cord Date and Kimball, Inman, all these people. Like the giants are there. Most of the giants have written books about what they've done. We just have to be aware that there are giants on whose shoulders we can stand. And we just have to do this. So this is again about passing on knowledge from books, from experiences, also from failures. And I think if we can manage that, make more people aware that there are giants on whose shoulders they can stand, we will have many more success stories than we have now. So thanks everyone. Great discussion, great way to close a year of great data modeling meetups. So thanks, and we'll see each other again at next year's meetups. We have one with Marielle Dado on knowledge construction, so I think very relevant to our discussion today. We will have one with Nikolai Golov and colleagues on data warehouse automation. We will have one with Dirk Lerner also on data warehouse automation. I even hear he's writing a book on data warehouse automation. I'm really looking forward to that one. It seems there's a book in the works that will help us transmit this knowledge to the next generation. We will have a meetup on the perfect date dimension with Sebastian Fluke. We will have one with Ellie on the model-driven organizations. I'm really looking forward to that one. It's a topic close to my heart and also close to Lars's heart, I think. So thanks, everyone. Thanks for finishing a great year with a great discussion, and see you all again next year. Happy holidays. Spend time with your families, and we see each other again next year. See you. Bye.